It is Friday, the 12th of December. I'm Méabh Mc Mahon, and this is Europe Today, Euronews' daily live fix of European news and analysis. Coming up today, speaking from Berlin, NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte has made a stark announcement to Europeans that Russia could attack a NATO country in the next 5 years. A number of Western intelligence agencies have said the same, but Moscow has called it hysteria. Meanwhile, the US has said Ukraine should pull its troops out of Donbass so that Washington can set up a free economic zone. For the latest, let's turn straight to Sasha Vakalina, our Ukraine correspondent. Good morning, Sasha. Quite a dramatic statement there from Mark Rutte. What more can you tell us?
Absolutely. The warning coming from NATO Secretary-General saying that Europe must prepare for the scale of war our grandparents endured. Of course, this means a lot to each and every European because everybody understands the scale that Rutte meant in that statement. He also said that if Putin is prepared to sacrifice ordinary Russians, what is he prepared to do to us? Now, at this stage, Russia is losing around 1,000 soldiers per day, Maeve. This is the scale he is talking about. Let's take a listen.
We are Russia's next target. And we are already in harm's way. I fear that too many are quietly complacent. Too many don't feel the urgency. And too many believe that time is on our side. It is not. The time for action is now.
There's nothing soft about that statement, May. There are no hints. There's a very direct warning coming indeed in line with lots of warnings by the Western intelligence agencies, also coming at the back of numerous hybrid attacks and those drone incursions in Europe, and also coming from the warnings from Moscow saying that, Moscow is ready at any time, as Russia is still blaming Europe, saying that Europe is the one being aggressive and Europe is the one waging the war at Russia.
And meanwhile, bring us up to speed on the efforts to end the war in Ukraine. As yesterday, of course, we discussed the potentiality of having a meeting in Europe this weekend with the Americans, the Europeans and the Ukrainians around the table. Is that still on the table, the idea?
Looks like the meeting might take place finally. It might be tomorrow on Saturday, and the venue will not be Brussels. That's going to be Paris. Now, it's still very much, in the move. We don't know the more details yet, but what we do know is that the sides represented there would be Ukraine, there would be also Europeans. Now, who would be there? That would be Britain, France and Germany. This has been reported at this stage. It's unclear whether the European Union and the European Commission institutions will be represented. It is also unclear whether Donald Trump will actually participate. He said he needs more clarity and understanding on the crucial issues, which of course is the territorial concessions. Now, President Zelensky spoke about it at length, and he said, of course, the most crucial issue is the one of ceasefire after repeated negotiations with Russia. The US believes complete ceasefire can only be achieved once a framework agreement has been signed. This is about the order of things and how we can proceed. Now, Ukraine and the Europeans have been insisting from the very beginning that they do want to see first a ceasefire and then some sort of an agreement. Russia insisted that there should be an agreement first and a ceasefire later. What we see now is that Washington supports Russia's vision of first having an agreement and then talking about ceasefire.
OK, so still extremely tricky. We'll keep a very close eye on those talks tomorrow in Paris. Thank you so much, Sasha Vakalini, there for that update. But now, coming up, we'll be joined by Nadia Calviño, the president of the European Investment Bank. That's the lending arm of the European Union. The former Spanish finance minister joins EU finance ministers today for talks on the European economy. The meeting comes on the very same day the Greek finance minister takes over from Pascal Donoghue as president of the Eurogroup. For more, we can head straight over to the European Council, where our EU editor, Maria Tadeo, is standing by for us. Good morning, Maria. Great to see you. Look, this meeting comes on a brutal week for Brussels, given the criticism from the US administration. Fill us in.
Well, yes, Maeve, difficult week for Europe, but today a positive story, if I may, for once. Of course, as you say, a new head of the Eurogroup. It's the Greek finance minister, a turnaround story here in Brussels today. This was a country, remember, that almost crashed out of the European Union and the Euro 10 years ago and now leads this group of finance ministers. But yes, the focus very much this week has been on the words by the U.S. administration, a European economy that is simply too weak, too politically correct, obsessed obsessed with regulation and green policies. A lot of this could lead to the end, according to the U.S. administration, to the European civilization. Very tough words. And to debrief, I'm happy to say we are joined live by the head of the European Investment Bank, Maria Tadeo. President, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I want to get your thoughts on those remarks by the U.S. administration. The European Union, it is simply too weak. Are we obsessed with regulation and are we killing this economy?
Well, actually, Maria, what I feel these days is that I'm more proud than ever to be European. I think our values are our compass, and they must be also underpinning the new world order which is in the making. And our unity is our strength. That's very clear when so many people are interested in dividing us and weakening the European Union.
And when you say there's a new world order, does that mean that the United States may not be an ally? Are these the remarks of a friend? When he says you're too weak, too politically correct, it's the end of a civilization. They are weak. Is that how a friend talks to a friend?
It's very clear that there's a new world order which is in the making. It will be very different to the past. We're not going back to the 80 years of peace, stability and transatlantic strategic alliance. We have to build new partnerships around the world and, of course, ensure that the European economy is strong and also that Europe has a strong voice in shaping this brave new world.
And how do you do that? How do you turn around this economy?
Well, actually, the European Union has remarkable strengths. When we talk about leadership in key areas from health to biotech, of course, clean tech, we are a trade powerhouse. We're an economy powerhouse. So we have to build on these strengths, keep united and unleash the whole potential of our continent.
But when you look at the numbers, the German economy is barely growing, the French economy barely growing, the Italian economy is barely growing. You could argue the past decade has been not good for Europe. How can we turn around this in more specific terms? Is there a case to say, yes, maybe we over-regulated, yes, we got too obsessed with green regulations, and now is the time to undo it?
It's very clear that we need to simplify the rules, and we're doing it. Only this week there was an agreement in the Parliament and the Council precisely to push ahead with simplification in key areas. So we are on the right track. We need to speed up. That's very clear in this simplification process so that we reduce red tape, we reduce costs for businesses, in particular for SMEs. We also need to further integrate our markets, whether it is in the area of digital or energy or capital markets, of course. And we need to invest big time to have strong infrastructures and to deploy and lead this new economy, which is also being built up these days.
So you don't fear this is the end of a European civilization that is now coming to an end?
Oh, absolutely not. We have overcome many weaknesses. As I said a moment ago, our unity is our strength. So we just need to keep together, push ahead and accelerate those processes that are ongoing to strengthen our economy and our political unity and our security and defense capacity, of course.
Can you do that at 27? I'm thinking of the Hungarian government. They would say President Trump is right. These guys are weak.
Personally, I think that we should try to do it at 27, and if it's not possible, coalitions of the willing. We're seeing them going around, and that is the right way forward.
And President, of course, there is one thing specifically that I know you feel very strongly about, which is European companies need to stay in Europe. We cannot see this flight of capital into the United States. How do you stop it? Because in a way, this is a real anomaly. Our money goes somewhere else.
Well, absolutely. You know, Europe is right now the incubator of the world because we have a vibrant ecosystem of startups, very similar to the US. But when these companies need to grow, they have to look for the capital somewhere else. And that is why from the European Investment Bank, we launched a very successful initiative, the European Tech Champions Initiative. I will actually be briefing ministers today. I will be sharing with them this leaflet. It's a great success.
But some would say there's no Google, there's no Amazon. It is a failure, not a success.
Well, we are taking measures so that we can indeed continue to lead in those areas. And as I was saying, this has been a great success. Now we need to scale it up. We need to make sure that we have the size and the capital markets to finance those initiatives so that those great ideas, technologies and companies that are born in the EU can grow and thrive here.
President, I have 20 seconds left for you. The reparations loan, do you think this is going to go ahead? What does your political instinct say?
My political instinct says there's unanimity to support Ukraine, and we will get there.
Well, President, thank you very much for joining us on Euronews. And of course, that was Maria Tadeo, the president of the European Investment Bank, joining us on Euronews.
It was indeed, and thank you so much to yourself as well. Maria Tadeo, Euronews' EU editor there on the red carpet. But now it is time to move on and focus on Bulgaria, where the Prime Minister, Rosen Zeleskov, has dramatically stepped down after days of protests. For more on what this all means for Bulgaria, we can cross over to Sofia, to the capital, and speak to Raya Stoyanova there, our Bulgaria correspondent. Good morning, Raya. Thank you so much for joining us. Fill us in on this resignation.
Good morning. After a series of protests yesterday, the government has officially resigned. But let me remind you where it all started. Last month, people went on the streets to express their dissatisfaction with the budget frame for next year. But the frustration grew, and this month took place two of the largest demonstrations here in front of the parliament. People wanted the fallout of the government. They explained that they want a country with less corruption. And then yesterday, less than 24 hours after the protest, the government resigned. But let's hear some words of the now former Prime Minister, Rosen Zeleskov.
As we have stated, we hear the voices of the citizens protesting against the government. And we hear them clearly. We must race to meet their expectations, and their message is clear. They demand the government's resignation. This public engagement must be supported, because the world faces many challenges, and defending democracy is the greatest challenge before every conscious nation.
Rosen Zeleskov there. And what is next now for Bulgaria, which will, of course, join the Eurozone on the 1st of January 2026?
Yes, so right now it is a really difficult time for Bulgaria because, as you said, in less than a month we are going to join the Eurozone, to be exact, on the 1st of January. We are going to do that without a regular government and also with an extended budget. Also, right now, everything lies on the president because the president needs to hand out the mandate to three parties in the parliament. First, the biggest one, then the second largest one, and then a random one. And they will try and form a government. If they do not succeed, we are headed to elections again. Experts say that the elections will probably take place in February. Let me remind you that next year in Bulgaria we have also presidential elections.
Indeed, very interesting time for your country. Raya Stoyanova, thank you so much for joining us live this morning from the Bulgarian capital. Now, as you might have heard, next week EU leaders are planning to travel to Brazil to sign off on the historic EU-Mercosur trade deal. But believe it or not, after almost 3 decades, the deal is still on ice. Jakub Janis has this guide for us to understand the coming days.
Hello, Friday! While you are about to start your weekend, Brussels is sweating over a deadline that has been 25 years in the making. The EU is entering the final phase of the Mercosur trade deal that might create a market of 700 million people between Europe and South America. But will it? Next Tuesday, the European Parliament votes on the trading safeguards, basically to ensure no disruption of our market and to keep the unfair competition in check. And if that passes, it clears the path. Then, on Saturday, Ursula von der Leyen flies to Brazil to sign the deal. But even if signed, the European Parliament must still ratify it. With the far right and left against it, the deal could still be killed next year. European diplomats warn that if this happens, Europe loses a strategic partner, especially as relations with the US are falling apart. And speaking of the US, our favorite commentators have recently claimed that Brussels is just an unelected bureaucracy. Well, if this deal dies next year, it will be because the Parliament showed its teeth. So, dear American friends, please leave calling European lawmakers weak to us. That's our job. After all, we, the people, are the ones who elect them.
Jakub Janis there. And for more on that story and what it could mean for you, you can keep an eye on Euronews.com or download our app. But that does bring this edition of Europe Today to an end. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do stay with us, though, here on Euronews for a new episode of The Ring, our debating show, which comes to you this week from Madrid. Take care. Thanks for watching and see you soon on Euronews.
Talk about Europe, the issues at stake and how to solve them.
Economic and the financial sector.
Protect European interests.
Building unity between member states.
We want to work for better lives of our citizens.
Euronews. World weather.